Hello, my name's Rob and welcome to Swift Slots. So today I've got a bit of show and tell. I've got some paints and I've got some Revoslot cars. I'm a bit new to Revoslot, but I bought one for myself about a month ago. Absolutely fantastic looking thing. I had a bit of a plan for it. And I got one for my wife from the Gaydon show. She claimed to like it, so I found it and I got it for her. So I'll bring you down to the bench and I'll show you what I got. So let's start with my wife's car. She said she liked it, but I wasn't sure if she really did. But I saw it on the Pendle slot stand and I thought, I'm going to get it for her anyway. She likes slot cars, believe it or not, and I quite like this one. So for those of you that are Revoslot corner sticker obsessed, you'll probably know what that is. But for those of you who don't, this is a little bit different. It's not one that I would personally go for, but there she is. The Pink Pig. I personally love the car, but do I love the Pink Pig? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But the car is epic. Such a nice car. Quality of the print is fantastic. The lacquer is absolutely superb. There's not a mark on the floor on the paintwork. It's flawless. I could be quite a stickler for a paint finish, but honestly, I can't see any fault with this. It's absolutely spot on. So let's take her off the base and we'll have a look. It comes with a extra guide and a magnet, but who wants the magnet? There you go. The classic Revoslot aluminium chassis. It's got a little bit of float in it as standard. Very nice gear mesh. Just an all-round awesome quality car. So let's whip the bottom off. Like I say, I don't think I'm showing anybody anything new. If you know about Revoslot, you already know. But it's interesting to see somebody else's car, I guess. These screws are quite long. These screws are a little bit different from the screws on my other car that I've got, in as much as you don't need to take them all the way out on the other car that I've got that I'll be showing you. This one you do though, so it's a little bit different from the other cars, I guess. Dump all these screws out of the way. I'm going to lose those later on, I'm sure. So, there's the body for those that are interested. It's actually a very lightweight interior. It's actually a Lexan interior. Screws everywhere. I'm going to regret putting them in this tray. So there's the chassis itself. Lovely red pillow bearings. Guide is set up pretty well for self-centering straight out the box. The gear mesh is spot on. There's no noticeable end float at all in the back axle. Just the slightest bit of backlash in the gear, which makes for an incredibly smooth gear mesh. We've got alloy wheels, ball races in the pillow bearings, as all you know with the Revoslot, but you know, for some that don't know, and fully ball raced front and rear. Lovely inserts, very crisp. 21,000 RPM motor, which I guess is a standard fitment for Revoslot. Aluminium chassis, as I said, and these parts here are to actually govern the float. You can buy different ones with different gaps in here to give you different amounts of float if you want it. So, and there you are. So that's my wife's Pink Pig. I move on to my personal Revoslot. I did buy this about 2 months ago, maybe even 3, and it's this, the Alfa Romeo GTA white kit. Now for those of you that have never actually seen a Revoslot white kit before, it's a full-on Revoslot but white. I got this one because the colour scheme that I wanted isn't actually available, isn't or hasn't been, or certainly isn't now. So this is where these white kits come in really, really good, because as long as you've got a little bit of aptitude for painting, you can create your own paint schemes. And that's exactly what I got in mind in this one. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not going to be breaking any moulds with painting this. I love the classic red with the yellow nose. I've actually got a Hot Wheels collection, and one of my Hot Wheels cars is actually the Alfa Romeo GTA in red with the yellow nose on it. It's actually from the Real Riders range. It's a lovely, lovely car. To be honest with you, I've got about 2,000 Hot Wheels cars, and that car is just about one of my favourites in all fairness. So I couldn't help but buy it in the slot car form. So just to show you, if you don't know what the white kit comes like, it comes in a lot of parts. Without breaking this body, I really don't want to break the body. Let's get this glass out of here. There it comes. So in the kit, you get your body, you get your chassis pre-made, you get all the little parts, glass, guide, and some interior parts. The interior is actually Lexan, and the driver is ABS probably, or whatever plastic they use. I think it's probably ABS. And in the packet here, you've got the grille, the bumpers, the hubcaps, the dashboard, not the dashboard, or is it? No, it's not. It's the rear diffuser, I think, for the back of the car across here. It goes in there. And then obviously we've got the glass. It's not a lightweight glass, but I don't suppose it weighs a huge amount anyway. And then we've got the guide with the headlights. These are the headlight buckets. And you've got some, there you go. We got the grills for the mesh, the eyelets for the braids, and that looks to be a standard guide as far as I can tell. This particular kit, no, hang on, it comes with one already. Right, there we are. So this chassis, this pre-built chassis, that's actually a wood guide. So in the pre-built chassis, you've got the wood guide. In the packet, you've got the standard sort of Skeletrix, Ninko type, Carrera type deal. And on the actual chassis, it's gorgeous little chassis. It's such a nice little thing. We've got independent front wheels, which the Porsche actually doesn't have. The Porsche has actually got a solid axle. But the GTA has got independent wheels, which can't be a bad thing. And there's no slop in those pillow bearings, which is amazing for a little tiny stub axle in such a short distance. I mean, I've raced model cars for 15 odd years, and you know, none of the bearings are ever this good on that. That's on like a £300 car, but on this, what, £55 car, there's no play in those bearings. It's fantastic. Alloy wheels, very nice grippy tyres. Alloys on the back, spacer for end float. You've got your gears on the back, and again, I don't know if you can see that, but beautiful amount of backlash. Nothing to talk of. Really, really smart. Very, very smooth. Again, 21,000 RPM motor. I dare say it's exactly the same as the Porsche. Probably is. Let me have a look. Let's see now. Yep, it's exactly the same motor. They're identical motors. So this thing should fly. Again, we got the float in the chassis all built in, again on these little spacers that you can buy to change them. And there you go. And there's the body. Absolutely 100% crisp. Really nice body. Really, really nice. So, that's the Revo slots taken care of. Oh, sorry, one other thing while we're on the case of the body. I got some stickers. Well, not stickers, some water slides. They're also Pioneer. Well, not also Pioneer, but that also. you'll understand why I said also in a later video. So forget the fact that I said also. It's yes. But with the classic paint job that I'm doing on this car, I should probably use the 5 slapped over the bonnet and a couple of these small ones, but not too many. The classic paint job, the red and yellow, doesn't have too many stickers on it. So that's that. And that's where the paint comes in. So there's a guy on YouTube who reviews paints, and his videos are excellent. They are very, very good. He's a very thorough. He reviews all sorts of paints and other things, I'm sure, but I've only really watched his paints because they're just so good. And he reviews all sorts of paints from Tamiya, Mr. Colour, and all sorts of other ones. And he swears by these Mr. Colour paints. And I've been onto the forum and I've asked around, and Mr. Colour came up very often, as well as a couple of other brands. I think we're well past the days of Humbrol now and Revo little tinlets. I think there's a lot better paint out there. But these are very, very good. And we've also got this Mr. Colour levelling thinner. Now they call this unicorn tears, as a little bit of a side note. It's just very, very good. And it's a levelling thinner because when you spray the paints on, it keeps the paint wetter for longer. It doesn't evaporate quite so quickly, which gives the paint a chance to flat down and smooth out. And the guys that know about Mr. Colour swear by this levelling thinner. You can even use it for Tamiya. Apparently it's better than the Tamiya thinners. So we got a bottle of that. It's not that cheap, but it's not that expensive. This bottle's about £11 and it's a 400ml bottle. Now, I've had a bottle of Tamiya acrylic thinner or their water-based thinner, whatever it is, and it's lasted me a long time. So this is going to be fine. I think it's going to last me for ages. And as you can see, I've got a whole range of colours here in Mr. Colour. So these cost me £1.50 from Jadlam Models in the UK. Not too bad. They're about the cheapest place that I could find. And their postage was free. I'm not sure if it's because I didn't buy the levelling thinner with the postage. But the levelling thinner, when I bought the levelling thinner from a different shop, I got paid carriage. And I think it's probably because it's classed as a hazardous material. So I think they had to probably charge me a bit. But I don't know. I mean, it might just been the policy of the shop. So we've got these 1500 primers. Apparently, so I've done a bit of research. I didn't realise this in all the years that I've been painting, but there you go, whatever. The pink primer is best off used for your yellows, your oranges, your reds, kind of colours like that. And your grey is just a universal colour. And then you'd use your white primer, which I've got coming, I haven't got here. The white would be used obviously for white and your lighter colours. So your top coat is all hinging on your primer, which I guess is obvious. I don't know, if you're into painting, you'd know that, but it's not necessarily obvious to some people. We might just think that the pigment's strong enough to cover, but sometimes it isn't. So if you want to put a yellow on, put a pink primer on. If you want to put a black on, you can put the grey on. If you want to put a white, you put a white primer. Or if you want, say you want this green to be a hair lighter than it actually is at the paint, you'd put a white primer on and it'll actually bring the colour up a little bit lighter. If you want to make it slightly darker, you could put on a grey. Or if you want to actually bring it right down, you can use a black primer, which is interesting to do. So I've got 3 different lacquers here as well. I'm going to get this all wrong now, I'm sure. But this one here is supposed to be a really good quality, real high shine. And I'm hoping, to be fair, it's going to be something similar to that, but we will find out. I've never used these paints before, so that's that one, the UV cut. And then we've got a satin and a matte varnish here, so I can do things like windscreen rubbers and bits and bobs, and the satin could be things that I don't quite want to be so strong, maybe the wheel centre hubs or something like that, as well as all the other colours. So what I intend to do for the Alfa Romeo body, because it's the classic colours, I was hoping that this one might be just about right with a light primer underneath it. But I'm thinking that that might be a little bit too dark. So I'm going to mix the 2 reds together and get something in between, and then probably still put it over the pink primer. And that'll give me my kind of deep red classic Alfa Romeo colour. And then for the nose, which is supposed to be yellow, but it's not really yellow, it's not really orange either. This one, the orange, looks fantastic on the video that the YouTuber shows. But again, I'm looking at it now in real life and I'm in 2 minds. And I think I might mix this yellow and the orange together to give me something in between, not quite so strong as that, but not quite so bright as that, and again put it onto the pink primer, and I think that'll work really, really well. But like I said, I'm new to this stuff, so we will find out. I've got a spray gun. It's a Iwata spray gun. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you the spray gun now. So I wouldn't say that I was a tool snob, but I kind of am, to be honest. There's nothing, the old saying used to be, a bad tradesman blames his tools, and that might have been the case years ago. But these days, it's not really the case. There are some really quite terrible tools out there, to be honest with you, in the world of tools. And you can literally buy some pretty awful tools. So I'm a great advocate of you get what you pay for, and a nice tool is really worth the money. It gives such a nice, rewarding result in just using it, comfort, feel, and operation. So this is my Iwata airbrush, and it wasn't cheap. They are not cheap, but I've used this brush now for quite a few years, probably about 6, maybe even 7 years. It's as good as the day I bought it, and I've literally sprayed a bit of water on there from when I was spraying Tamiya. I've sprayed gallons of paint through this gun. The whole of Crow Valley, in fact, just to bring you up to speed, just to give you the latest project, the whole of Crow Valley was sprayed with this airbrush. Not the track surface, but all the fencing, the race control room, and all the other small parts that you see. And it's just an absolutely fantastic tool. So if you're going to get into airbrushing, or thinking about getting into airbrushing, do yourself a favour and get yourself a good quality airbrush. Research some brands and find a good quality one, because you really are going to be fighting with one arm behind your back if you want to start airbrushing with a cheap airbrush. You really are putting yourself on the back foot. Or at least give an airbrush company a ring and ask them what they would highly recommend as a good quality beginner's airbrush, because you don't have to go as expensive as his Iwata. You can get something for probably a quarter of the price that's probably just as good. But and the other thing that I'd highly recommend to you, and it took me years to get around to doing this, get yourself a quick release. Do yourself a favour and get yourself a quick release. Now, I've only just gotten this quick release for this airbrush, and I wish I'd done it years ago. When you're spraying, if this line here is solid, which it is without the quick release, when you turn your wrist, you're fighting against the tension of the airline. And I know it doesn't sound much, but it really does restrict your hand movement, especially when you've got the gun hanging up and you're trying to mix paint and the cable is pulling against the gun in the holder. It really is a pain. But with this quick release, you can hold this cable tight, look, and you can tilt it. And it's so much better. And again, get yourself a decent quality one. Now, I've got to be honest, this was a cheap one. And when I got it, it didn't actually work. I had to go in there with the lathe and just relief some of the threads. It was binding up. It wouldn't actually lock on. But I'm lucky I've got the tools to do it. But if you don't have access to a lathe and whatnot, and you know that's fine. But just get yourself, spend the money and get yourself a really good one that's going to work. And I tell you, you'll thank me for it if you ever do. So that's my airbrush, and that's what I'm going to be spraying my Revoslot cars with. So I've got one other project, which is actually a spray booth. And I've bought all the parts for the spray booth, and I shall be doing the spray booth with you on this channel in the next week or so. It'll be a super budget build. I've got a few bits of wood and bits of plastic kicking around to fill in the gaps, which, you know, I can't really account for that in the price. But other than that, it's going to cost me about £20. So if you've got a little bit of spare wood kicking around, or a little bit of spare plastic, or a bit of plastic card, you can follow along with my spray booth build. Get yourself a spray booth for about £20–25, as opposed to £100 or £150 buying it as a pre-built one on eBay or Amazon or wherever. So I'll show you how far I've got with my spray booth. This is it. A £4 box from Asda, which is a UK superstore here in the UK, and some filter material. Apparently this is what they use for quilting. I got it from my local haberdashery. It's about, I don't know, 30 mil thick, and it's a good size piece. It's 1/2 meter as they call it, so it's about, I don't know, 2 foot by 3 foot square. That cost me £2.50. So this will be the filter material in the back of my spray booth, and this box will be the spray booth. So I'll be making fold out flaps here, cut the back out with a filter, a pair of twin computer fans in the back with an extractor fan, and I should be creating myself a budget spray booth. You might say to yourself, well Rob, if you're a professional model maker, so you claim, why haven't you got a spray booth? Well, the answer is I've never bothered with one. I've just opened the door and put the extractor fan on and just cracked on, and it's never done me any harm. But it would be great to have a proper spray booth. So I'm going to build one, and I'll bring you along with the ride, and you can see how I've done mine, and with any luck you can make yourself a nice cheap spray booth. There are plenty of videos out there showing you how to do it as well. Mine's not a definitive, but you know, we'll do it, and you can have a look, and every point of view is an extra sort of thing to, you know, have in your armory of ideas. I might throw something out there that you didn't know. There's LEDs that's going in that, which I've already ordered. I've used them before. They're fantastic LEDs. They're very white and very bright, and I'll put the link to those when I get them, so that's a benefit to somebody, I'm sure, and so on and so forth. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of a show and tell, and until the next one, have a good one. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say, could you please subscribe and hit the little bell? That would really help me out. Thank you very much. Is that a pussycat I can hear there? Hello, pussycat. Come on then, if you must.